George Sheldrick was a special person in many aspects. We all know him as one of the greatest crystallographers of our time. He was a passionate teacher, politically he was very interested, and, at the benefit of many of his group members, he was a great humanist. He combined many British virtues, including a subtle sense of humor. From my memories of 12 years as postdoc and senior scientist with George, there are three aspects that are particularly memorable to me: his active contribution to protect our environment, his scientific pragmatism, and his scientific sportsmanship and fairness. In 2003, when I started as a postdoc in George's group, he did not hesitate to pass over his lecture of crystallography in the structural biology PhD program. And a couple of years later, George handed over the master's lectures of crystallography for chemists to me as well. It was actually the lecture of environmental chemistry that meant a lot to George. He was always very fond of this lecture, and he grew his knowledge continuously. The climate disasters that we are currently witnessing, for example in the south of Europe, are only a small foretaste of the consequences when the Arctic ice will melt and the Gulf Stream will cease to circulate. And George discussed these topics and consequences already 15 to 20 years back during coffee breaks with the group. Not only by teaching did George advocate the protection of the environment, he was also very active himself. He had constructed a low-energy home for his family. I remember well all the barbecues at his home when George gave a tour of the house to demonstrate many passive elements to maintain a good temperature. I believe this is one of George's trademarks that he showed in these small gadgets and gimmicks, achieving a lot by small and seemingly simple ideas and tricks. When I spoke of pragmatism earlier, I referred to George's attitude that the experiment has more weight than theory. George often received comments about the shortcuts in his programs and the tricks that were part of the success and particularly the speed of his computer programs. Often such tricks were based on George's unmistakable sense for experiment, and he could rely on his sense better than on some mathematical formulas. Working with respect to experiment much more than theory is what I will take from George forever. Team spirit was yet another of George's trademarks, and it meant a lot to him. We always went to Mensa together as a group, and I do not remember a day when the mandatory coffee break after lunch did not take place. I will also keep good memories of the annual barbecues at George's home, and of course of the legendary Sheldrick's Christmas parties, an opportunity for many of his alumni to come back to Göttingen. Usually several of his family members joined these events, for his family meant a lot to George. During the last Sheldrick's Christmas party that I attended myself, his daughter with his first grandchild were there too, and I met George as a very proud grandfather. I would close with the sportsman in George. George was a strong promoter of fairness, and one quote of George's reads, "Friendly competition is very motivating," and he would emphasize the word friendly. George was fully aware what outstanding scientist he is. He enjoyed the competition with fellow scientists that play in the same top league as he did. He showed great respect for the work and achievement of others. And George was lucky to be part of a scientific community where many had the same attitude, an attitude that pushes science much more than the persons behind it. He would suffer in situations where fairness was flawed. This combination of ambition and fairness means one important heritage of George's to me that I have been trying to pass over ever since I met George.